Next up on the Cosmic News Network, First Contact with Joshua Putt.
Good morning, Earthlings. How are you today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Glad you could be here. Hope your week is going well. I hope your month has gone well because the month's over. It's 29th today, 30th and 31st over the course of this weekend. And that's it. So when we come back next week, it's going to be another month already. It just seems like we started a new month and now we're getting ready to jump into another one. So let's take a look at what we're dealing with today in this last Friday of the month of July. We have a sun sign in Leo. Leo is a fire sign. Creativity and ideas are the keywords represented in the tarot by the card of strength, which tells us and challenges us to use our creativity, our imagination, and love to tame the beast within so that we can utilize that energy in a creative fashion as opposed to something destructive. The moon sign right here, as we can see, is in Gemini. Gemini is an air sign. Gemini is all about relationships, relationships with the choices and the decisions that we make. And if we are more aware of the decisions we make and the choices that we make, we have better results, and that affects the world greatly. Some of the aspects we're dealing with, we've already had a number of them that have occurred. Most recently, the opposition with Saturn that wants us to discipline, apply some discipline to what we're doing, discipline or focus. Now, as we move forward into this hour, towards the end of the hour, Neptune wants us to take a new perspective on things in regards to Gemini. So the choices or decisions we make, we need to make some look at things from a new perspective. That's our lesson we need to learn. And then later this afternoon, Mars is going to energize us, and again, dealing with Mercury, the messenger, the communicator, again, learning how to energize our communication, saying the things that will help us, avoiding the saying the things that will hurt us, both equally important. The moon sign or the moon phase is 21.2% of the way full. Will be at the new moon next week on Tuesday. Tuesday is the 2nd already, so that's coming up. On the Jewish calendar today is 23 Tammuz. 23 Tammuz is the day. 5776 is the year. The daily thought is Treasure Island. Our souls are in exile within our bodies. Our people is in exile within a foreign world. And so there are two things we must know. That this is not our place, and that hidden treasure lies buried here, for God dwells in darkness. If we remember only that this is not our place, we may remain strong. We may even shine in the darkness. But what profit will there be from our exile? If we remember only that treasure lies here, we will begin to believe that this is our place, and if so, of what use is the treasure? It's a good one for today. Space weather, 570.2 kilometers per second is the solar wind speed at the moment. Planetary K-index is quiet, but shall become unsettled over the next 24 hours. Not much in the way of coronal holes, at least not in comparison to what it was with the big gap in the sun, but here we have a smaller one to the left, little one here, so we'll probably catch the effect of some solar wind coming off of that. M-class flare possibilities at 1, just like X-class is at 1. Mid-latitude geomagnetic storm activity is subsiding. It's dropping down to 25, down to 15. In the upper latitudes from 35 down to 20, so things are subsiding slightly as Mr. Duck waves to you above the flat Earth. Okay. All right, so there you go. There's our cosmic weather for today. UFO news is up next. Let's check it out. Check it out. Check it out.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk, thank you very much. Today, I have 4 stories. Actually, 3 stories. When I learned to count, I realized it's only 3. First story takes us over Las Vegas. There was a sighting last night that was seen. Well, actually, this was the night before from the 27th. I noticed the world news is trying hard to make the public believe that what was seen over Vegas was just a Chinese rocket. But I find these extremely hard to believe. Why? Because most rockets and satellites often have devices to help power long-term flights of such craft. These batteries are often nuclear. If the rocket was carrying a Chinese satellite in it as it fell, America would be in a panic over the nuclear fallout over the hazardous material. But America doesn't seem to care. Also, if it was a rocket, it could be a nuclear rocket test to see if the Chinese nuke would make it to America and how to prevent it from being shot down, pretending it's just a failed space mission. If this is true, then there is a conspiracy within the conspiracy. Okay, so take a look at this to see what it is, but very good questions that were brought up there. If this is a UFO craft, as they say, or a craft from China, wouldn't there be more dangers? Wouldn't there be a lot more dangers that we'd be experiencing? Quite possibly. Whatever's going on up there is quite significant. Maybe it is a meteor. Maybe it is a battle out there in space. Maybe it is. Okay, let's move on from here to the next story. Here we have a story that takes us to Newcastle, England. These aren't 2 objects, but the same object. One a little bit more of a close-up than the other. This is a great video. Didn't see this. Sorry. By third phase of the moon. Shows a triangular UFO with a cloak surrounding it. Well, let's take a look at this. Third phase of the moon, unfortunately, fakes stuff. So, my bad. I wasn't paying attention, and when I pulled this one up on who it came from. But there's our object in question. Now, maybe third phase of the moon is going to get his act together, but you look at this, and there's at some point, I can't help but look and say this kind of looks like a Mylar balloon. Is that what it is? Don't know. Links available. You can check it out. But again, my bad. I didn't realize that this was a third phase of the moon video. If so, I wouldn't have wasted your time or mine. And finally, the disclosure controversy with Jim Marrs, Linda Moulton Howe, and Laura Eisenhower. What we have here is a video for you to listen to. Some of your weekend viewing pleasure. It says Jimmy Church Radio, Fade to Black, was broadcast live. This is from Contact in the Desert, 2016, at the Joshua Tree, California, a couple weekends ago. Like a revolving door of who's of ufology, one guest after another passed through the studio, sitting with Jimmy Church, and fascinating and often controversial subject. Jim Marrs, Linda Moulton Howe, and Laura Eisenhower discussed the upcoming U.S. election. And the video itself is, you click that button, 11 minutes, 49 seconds length. A nice good little compilation of what happened there. So check it out. The video is available for you. Brings us up to a quick break. I'll be right back. Stay tuned.
What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth.
People shouldn't be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of
9/11 was an inside job. Kennedy was killed by the CIA. Jimmy Carter saw UFO. Answers to secrets you need to know. So wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up. up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Patriots arise. It's time to demand the truth.
Everybody, it's time to demand the truth. So, what I want to do is I want to do a little bit of a wrap up of what happened at this convention this week and then remind you of some of the things that happened at the convention the week before. As you know, this week has been the Democratic National Convention. It lasted from Monday through Thursday, 4 days, and it was everything that you would expect from a Democratic National Convention. Now, overall, the production value was pretty good, as would be expected. Why would I expect that? Because Hollywood is pretty much a liberal town. Hollywood knows how to put on a production. So since Hollywood is pretty much, Democratic, liberal, you know that they're going to be involved with the process. And they're going to bring over different talent that, is all invested or going along with the agenda, what have you. So it's the usual characters that show up at these events. So production value was good. However, I did like the Republican convention better in the way that there was a flow from one speaker to the music. There weren't really all those, quiet moments between like there were there. Speaker-wise, the criticism with the Republican convention is that people said it was dark and that it painted a gloomy view of America, and liberals and Democrats want to say it was all about hatred. Well, how could it be about hatred if you're discussing the enemy that's trying to kill you? Okay, see, that's where the liberal agenda gets in the way of understanding their personal security. And people forget all about that. We should be more interested in our personal security, taking care of our families and our friends rather than a political party. But we don't. We get caught up in all of this, and we allow ourselves then to be pulled apart. The stupidity of it. The things I didn't like about the Democratic Convention right off the bat was all the racist conversation. You see, what I find is that the most racist individuals of this political parties, between the two of them, are definitely from the liberal Democratic side. They'll be the ones who will yell at you and scream at you first and tell you you're racist simply to cover up the fact that that's exactly what their behavior is. They kept bringing one person up after another that would criticize or somehow make the conversation turn to the focus of the black plight and also to turn away from the white. We had to hear Michelle Obama talking about how that lawn where her two young black daughters played. Oh, why does it have to be, why do we have to have such emphasis knowing the color of your daughter's skin? Or why do we have to hear the concern that you're living in a house built by slaves? Well, leave, move. Move. If you don't want to be at that house, you could move very easily. Now, I recall when your husband, we'll loosely call him your husband, but when he first, in 2008, got accepted and nominated, I believe, and then the election occurred, I believe that's when you said that was the first time you've ever been proud of America. Really, the first time? Because this man who you're connected to is in, you weren't proud of it beforehand? And now you're going to lecture to us about being in a house? You know what? Just go away already, will you? Just go away, because we're tired of it. I'm tired of all your racist, nonsensical talk. Now, racism is when you want to decree that your race is better than somebody else's. We certainly see this in this process. Black Lives Matter is nothing more than a racist organization. Last night, Black Lives Matter showed America that they are nothing more than a bunch of punks, a bunch of thugs who have zero representation towards members of the black community. They only are there for themselves. I know, and I have many friends who are members of the black community, and they don't like what Black Lives Matter is doing. Black Lives Matter is out there on a political agenda. Let me show you what happened last night in case you didn't see. There was, over the course of the convention, they brought the parents of several of the, of these black thugs that were killed. Michael Brown was doing a robbery. and then he left and was walking down the street, and then he tried to take a gun away from an officer. This led to the fraudulent term hands up, don't shoot, which isn't what evidence shows. The only ones who say it was otherwise were the lying thugs that were around there supporting the other thug. And so we have this group of racists, Black Lives Matter, supported by a white man, George Soros. So basically, Black Lives Matter is nothing more than a group of slaves running around thinking that they're free, all the while white man, George Soros, pays their bill. Okay? And nothing more than a bunch of idiots. So last night, due to the pressure, due to political correctness and pressure of individuals wanting to know why there weren't any honoring of any of these police officers that were killed, last night they did something to that effect. They brought a police chief on from Dallas. I didn't know where the talk was going to go. I didn't know if it was going to be political, motivated, or what, but it wasn't. It was a wonderful talk. And at one point, this woman right here, this is the police chief. Her name is, or Dallas County Sheriff Lupe Valdez. She asked for a moment of silence for the fallen officers, okay? For fallen officers. And during that moment of silence, what do you think occurred? Some of these Black Lives Matter punks had to start yelling Black Lives Matter. Guess what? Your black life doesn't matter. Period. Your organization does not matter. Period. Your organization is nothing more than a political, motivated, agenda-driven organization. You do not represent black people at all. What you represent are thugs, you represent murderers, you represent racists, and you represent those who hate America. So Black Lives Matter, do us all a favor. Just shut up. Go away, would you? Because we're tired of your racist nonsense. There's good people in the world, and you are giving them a bad name because you're associating yourself with them. Okay? Stop doing that. And members of the black community, I'm glad to see you don't buy into all of their BS. It's absolutely nonsense. Black Lives Matter is not about the people. Black Lives Matter is about an agenda. And if you think anything else, you've been fooled. Go look it up. Go come to understand what's taking place and stop supporting those thugs. Those thugs should all be in jail. Those thugs would certainly find it disrespectful if they heard somebody yelling out, well, one of the parents of those young men who were killed, if somebody in the audience was hollering at that time, they would have thought it was disrespectful. Okay? You can tell somebody by their actions. When you have a group that behaves that way, you realize they're nothing more than thuggish persons. They're not out to represent a community in a proper way. That's not their agenda. If it was Black Lives Matter, if they really thought Black Lives Matter, then they would be doing two things. One, they would be over at the Planned Parenthood centers and protesting the abortions against all the black babies. They'd be outraged that Margaret Sanger, who put together Planned Parenthood, had an agenda to exterminate black babies. So Black Lives Matter should be outraged about that, but they're not. They're not. And they should also be outraged about the black-on-black crime going on in the various neighborhoods. But they're not. You see, I don't understand why blacks want to turn a blind eye to the black-on-black crime. You know how long it's been going on? Well, back in Africa, the way in which the blacks got traded as slaves was because other blacks committed crimes against other blacks and then sold them for trinkets to the Dutch. Okay? Blacks enslaved other blacks and sold them for trinkets. That's called black-on-black crime. But we can turn a blind eye to that. We can pretend it doesn't exist, but we know it does. So if Black Lives Matter really wants to do something and clean up your image, start protesting in these areas where there's mass amount of blacks getting killed. Otherwise, if you can't do this, then you really don't care about your own community. And you should just sit down and shut up and basically just go away. Go away, because your lives don't matter It don't matter to me. And it don't matter to a lot of folks because we know that you're nothing more than a group of thugs. And you don't represent anybody but your own thuggish behavior and the communists who are funding your agenda. Now, we all know about the WikiLeaks scandal. The Clinton Foundation is obviously, and the Democratic Party is obviously have some degree of upset about this. Here's a story. It says Clinton campaign Russia is rigging the U.S. election by exposing how we rigged the election. Russia is manipulating the 2016 U.S. presidential election by leaking hacked emails from the Democratic National Committee servers, emails that showed the DNC rigged and manipulated the Democratic primary in favor of Hillary Clinton. Call it an exercise in hypocrisy or call it a deflection to detract from the fact that America's political process is corrupt beyond belief. Either way, this is the narrative prevailing in the media as the Democratic Party attempts to downplay its own internal corruption by pinning the blame on Russia in what can be described as the Neo-Red Scare. Okay, so Democratic Party, look, here's what they do. Their strategy is very, very simple. The first thing they do is to deflect. You ask a question, watch how they respond. They're always deflecting, not to answer, deflect. The second thing is you accuse the other person very strongly that what they are doing is wrong. You accuse them, but generally what you're accusing them of is the very behavior that you yourself are guilty of. So we have these groups lashing out. What do we hear the liberals pointing out? You're racist, you're racist, you're racist. That's their phrase. You're a homophobe. You're a fearmonger. All of these different terms they use to try to belittle somebody, to attack and to intimidate. That is their strategy. Where does that come from? Out of Rules for Radicals. Who wrote Rules for Radicals? Saul Alinsky. Who was Saul Alinsky? He was someone that Hillary Clinton admired greatly and even wrote a paper on. Okay, even spent a great deal of time in study. This is one of her alleged mentors. Now, what did Ben Carson say about Saul Alinsky? He brought up the fact, true fact, you can go look it up yourself in Rules for Radicals. He brought in the acknowledgement section. You can go read it. If you got two eyeballs, if you even have only one eyeball, you can still read it. You go there and in the acknowledgement section, you go to the very last of the acknowledgements and it says, and last, let us not forget the original radical, and the acknowledgement is to Lucifer. Now, Ben Carson brought this up. So here's a direct question to any of you that are Catholic, Christian, Mormon, any of the religions that believe in God. Here's a question for you, a very direct question. I may offend you. If so, take a good hard look at why you're offended. Ben Carson got up and told you that Lucifer has a dedication, an acknowledgement in the book Rules for Radicals, a book that has greatly influenced Hillary Clinton. He told us in no uncertain terms that Hillary Clinton is running in the circle of influence with Lucifer. If you are Catholic, if you are Christian, if you are a God-loving person, how could you dismiss those words and still call yourself a God-loving person? How could you dismiss the warnings that have been given all these years by Jesus and yet turn a blind eye when Ben Carson lets you know that maybe the very thing Jesus has been warning you about is right in front of your very eyes? I think it's very significant what he said, yet many are turning a blind eye. I hear it. I see it. I talk to people about this. Catholics and Christians and those who talk about God sometimes can talk a big game, but when it comes time to actually putting into practice what it is they're learning, that's where the challenge is. So many are willing to turn a blind eye to serve the Democratic Party despite the fact that Ben Carson has shown you a connection between the leader of that party and Lucifer. So how many good Christians, how many good Catholics, how many good God-loving individuals are going to abandon God to go follow that woman who has an influence by Lucifer? Very tricky question. It's going to be interesting to see what you decide to do out there, folks. My guess, a lot of you are just going to show that you're hypocritical. A lot of you are going to turn and you're going to run away from God, because a lot of you really did nothing more than talk a game anyway. You really weren't trusting. We know that. I know that. You know that. A lot of you are just playing a big game. But when it comes down to it, you don't have the courage of your convictions to stand by what you believe. All right, so here we have this election going on. We've got fraud that has occurred there. Fraud has been confirmed through the WikiLeaks emails that came out from the DNC. Now there are those who are studying the fraud that's going on here. Here's a story. It says Election Justice USA claims fraud cost Sanders 184 delegates. Election Justice USA has released a 99-page report. You can click the link right here to go find it, on irregularities in the Democratic primary election, concluding that Bernie Sanders lost an upper estimate of 184 pledged delegates as a result of specific irregularities and instances of fraud, enough to have potentially altered the course of the nomination. Adding these delegates to Senator Sanders' pledged delegate total and subtracting the same number from Hillary Clinton's total would more than erase the 359 pledged delegate gap between the two candidates, the report states. Election Justice USA established the upper estimate through exit polling data, statistical analysis by precinct size, and attention to the details of Democratic proportional awarding of national delegates. Okay, so links available so you can check it out. Basically, they cheated, and this is what's being found out. Now, considering that the emails came out and said that they cheated, they're discussing the cheating, now it makes it a little bit easier for them to find out. But what you've got is a bunch of cheating going on. A bunch of cheating going on. When Barack Obama was elected last time, do you remember all the talks about voter fraud? Okay, they keep doing the same things. Why? Because they think Americans aren't paying attention. But thank goodness more Americans are this time. The reason being is Donald Trump, being in the race, has called out a lot of these things. He's talked about the rigged elections enough that now people are starting to question. More articles are coming out about these rigged elections. He's bringing to the attention things that we need to be aware of. Okay? We need to be aware of these things. Here's a story. Did longtime ally just blow the major hole in Clinton's TPP credibility? Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe, a longtime friend of the Clinton family, said this week that Hillary Clinton would support the controversial TPP if elected president, despite claiming to oppose it, before walking the comments back and then doubling down again. Uh-oh. Wait a minute. He's saying that Hillary Clinton might not follow the things that she's saying? Wow, am I surprised about that. Her whole career is based on her telling lies. Okay? Over and over you could find comments out there who say Hillary will say anything to get elected. I believe one of those might have been Barack Obama when they were running. Okay, so she's going to say anything to get elected. People believe that she's going to suddenly be against the TPP? Really? Really? You really think suddenly this woman is just suddenly, oh, okay, she's going to change? Not happening. She's just lying to you. She's lying. That's what she does. Did you hear her speech last night? Lies, 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 and more lies. It's nonsense, and people keep believing it, which is why they keep telling these lies. Why they keep telling lies. So, I really think it's crucial that we pay attention to during this election cycle. I think it's very important that we do not see the Democratic Party get in office, for the very reason that as we look at what's going on in this country, we can see it's going in the wrong direction. I know the media thinks they're immune from all of these problems going on in the world affecting them, But ultimately, they will be affected because they are living in the same world as everyone else. They're just lying about what's going on because they're getting a paycheck to do so, and they think that paycheck is going to make them immune. The only thing it does is lets them lose credibility with the American people. And one day we're all going to meet in the street. We're going to see you there, and you're going to expect if something happens that we're going to have your back. But we're not. Because when you lie about the dangers going on in this country, you're not protecting me, you're not protecting my friends, you're not protecting my family. You're only thinking about yourself. And so if you're not protecting me, my family, or my friends, then what good are you? You're none. You're not any good. If you're not protecting us, then you're against us. And so the media is not for us, my friends, if you really just break it down to understanding that basic thing. If they are lying to you about the dangers that are occurring in America, then they are not protecting you. Say that over and over to yourself a couple times. If they're lying to you about the dangers taking place in this country, they're not looking out for you or your family or your friends. They're only looking out for themselves. That's the bold truth of it, my friends. I know some people don't want to hear it because you believe that the media is so honest and trustworthy, but they're not. They're liars. That's what they do. And as long as there are those willing to lie, they'll always find those willing to pay them for those lies. It's unfortunate. So let's do the right thing in this election. Let's make sure, and by the right thing, let's make sure we get on the path that is following and loving God. Now, I don't know what whole Donald relationship is with God. We've read that he's gone and had himself, become a Christian through this process. We have seen evangelicals are liking him. I don't have a problem that he's not up there preaching about God all the time, but I truly believe that he loves God from the things I have heard him say, and I do believe he has a good heart that wants to help people. Where on the other side, I see a woman who has a definite connection to somebody who's into Satan, to Lucifer. I see a woman who lies. I've seen the evidence that shows all the scandals she's involved with. You notice last night, maybe you didn't, there was no talk about the Clinton Foundation at all. This huge foundation that they have that has allegedly been responsible for so much goodness put into the world for years and years and years. One of their crowning achievements, didn't even mention it. You know why? Because it's a scam. And there's such a scandal surrounding it that is going to be under investigation. And as of right now, I believe the IRS is looking into it. Of course, they're not going to mention it. Of course, they're not. So, that brings it all back to us. What are we going to do? Are we going to let ourselves keep getting lied to? Are we going to see the end of our republic? See, this isn't a democracy. We may use a process, a democratic process, but we are a constitutional republic. And every time I hear individuals getting up there and keep talking about how we're a democracy, it tells me how they don't understand our system. Democracy is basically mob rule. But we are a nation of laws. The only difference that and reason why we don't understand that is because we're not applying the rules that we have. And therefore, because the rules are not being applied, our country is having a lot of problems because our country is set up for those rules to be followed. And when we stop following the rules, we start becoming chaotic. But that's what happens when the man who is supposed to be in charge is actually being lawless, when he's actually out in the world doing lawless activities. Okay, so we need to be aware, friends. Be aware. I know I keep saying it over and over. I sound like a broken record. I feel like a broken record. But I know that a lot of people are not paying attention. Last night, before I move on, not only did the Bernie Sanders people get treated badly. But you saw the shot of Bernie walking out of the auditorium. It was like they got done with him. They said, "You can go now. You're dismissed." Did you see Bernie sitting up there? He has some sort of mark on his cheek, and there's pictures that people have, and question being asked, was Bernie roughed up by Hillary's goons? Quite possible. Wouldn't be the first time something like that had occurred around Hillary Clinton. Bernie certainly didn't look happy the other day. He knows he got screwed. But at the same time, he really got the trust of many young millennial students and many others, and he simply betrayed them. Is he going to be returning back to them all of the money that they donated? Makes a big point. The average donation was $27. Well, $27 from people who sending that $27 might have been a bigger deal than some who have tons and tons of money. He's reaching out to a crowd of people who aren't in that capitalistic mindset. So for them, $27 might have been a big deal. And he took lots of these $27 donations. And now he's out of the race. And now he supported the people, supported the candidate that all along they've been telling his own supporters that she was unfit for the office of presidency. He said it over and over and over and over, and then he suddenly tells them, now go vote for her. He betrayed them. He betrayed all of his people. And he sat there looking like a sad, pathetic loser. Meanwhile, his supporters, who tried to stage a walkout, get locked into the media center and have the police guarding the door so they can't be coming in or out. So now we've got delegates of the DNC being held against their own will. Okay, then you have reports coming out of the convention center of how they were blocking off seats that were supposed to be for some of the delegates, how seats were being refilled with seat fillers. I showed you the article from Craigslist, 700 people they were bringing in, and how they were using white noise machines in various locations of the arena in order to try to cut down on some of the chatter or the back talk that was coming to the speakers. They didn't want anybody disrupting anything. However, during the course of the night, I know during Hillary's talk there was some stuff that was going on, and you could hear there were some rowdy individuals around there. So Bernie's people got treated badly. I watched the videos of the live streams going on. They're marching around outside, completely lost and confused, don't know what to do. They're planning and working on this thing called Dem Exit. I showed you the map yesterday of leaving the Democratic Party. But I see the frustration. I understand it. Bernie Sanders got Ron Paul'd. What they did to Ron Paul last time is what they did to Bernie now. The only difference is that Ron Paul only had, 7 or 8 states. Bernie Sanders had 22 or more. So, other than that, pretty much the same. An outsider got pushed away from the system. And just like the Ron Paul supporters last time were left disenfranchised, the Bernie Sanders supporters are the same way, trying to figure out what they're going to do. You know what? The Democratic Party really doesn't care about you. All they want is you to vote, and that's it. They don't care about anything else. They don't want to help you. They have no interest in following the policies that Bernie's out there. They're playing off of you, believing that you're going to be dumb enough to actually believe them. And as long as there are those who will be dumb enough to believe them, then they will continue to tell those lies. Why stop lying if the lie keeps working? You know what I'm saying? All right, turning our attention here, let's look at the Olympics coming up. This looks very inviting. This is where they're going to be swimming. Look at that. How would you like to be swimming there? It looks like a body. Crime-plagued Brazil is heading for the most shambolic Olympic Games in history, a Sun investigation revealed. Rotting corpses have been spotted floating in the rat-infested sailing and windsurfing venue as officials try to clean it up before the opening ceremony a week from today, or yesterday when this came out there. This body was found last month in the latest case of human remains being discovered near the Olympic venues. Athletes have been robbed at gunpoint and even allegedly kidnapped by gangs of rogue cops on the streets of Rio. Meanwhile, the Olympians' Disneyland for athletes accommodations has been rendered virtually uninhabitable by a putrid open sewer gushing through the village. Swimmers and sailors have been warned not to open their mouths when competing in case they pick up infections from waters poisoned by human excrement. Team GB has been forced to employ its own Rio plumber after discovering blocked toilets and leaking sewage pipes at their digs. Roads are clogged with traffic while a new metro line is due to be completed just 4 days before the $10 billion games, allowing no time for vital testing. Visitors' numbers are set to be hugely down in previous games with more than 1 million tickets still unsold. Well, I can't imagine why somebody wouldn't want to go to this event. I can't imagine why an athlete wouldn't want to go over there and swim in this rat-infested water with human excrement and dead bodies. I can't imagine why somebody would not want to participate in that. But here's what we're going to find out. Let's find out exactly how smart these athletes are. Do you think Michael Phelps is going to go swim in this? I'd be highly surprised if anyone went and swam in it. But I will not be shocked if I find out that there are plenty that go over there. Because generally people aren't very smart about some things. And there's going to be some who are going to dive in this water and go swim in there because this is being set up as the new norm. This is really, really a downturn of what we're capable of. So, good luck to the athletes that are out there. Good luck to the persons and the people who are going to see this show. It seems like it's going to be quite a mess. I would make sure that I had my high wading boots because literally there's a lot of BS floating around. It's kind of gross, huh? Kind of gross. All right, let's change gears from that. Let's take a look at some things we could do to make things a little better. Because again, my complaining does no good if all I'm doing is complaining. I need to be able to offer solutions. Anyone who's complaining about something needs to offer us solutions. I am complaining, but I hope my complaints come across more as an observation of what is going on. The way we fix things is we have to, one, participate in the process. Now, I know a lot of people say, oh, the system is rigged, which we've heard and we understand, so participating won't make a difference. Well, that's the first thing that the powers that be want, is they want you to stop participating. But look how that's gotten us over all these years of not participating. Look where it's gotten us. At least if people get out and start to participate, by going out, at least people can begin communicating with each other to find out how we can fix this problem. By speaking out against the injustices and the corruptions, that's how we get to the bottom of fixing these problems. We fix these problems by using our minds. We live in a reality here on the earth that is a physical reality. Energy is moving down at a certain speed, a certain density. It's much lighter, but then it gets denser as it moves down. And through this density, here we are on the earth, thinking that what's going on in the earth is all that there is, and oftentimes we forget about that. But before the physical, we have the fire, the water, the air, and the earth. We experience these things every day. We experience fire every single day. We cook with fire. We use fire to heat our homes. We use fire for many different purposes. We certainly use water every day. We drink water. It's all around us in the lakes and the oceans. It rains upon us. We have the air, which blows, which dries us off if we're wet, which provides, fresh inspiration if we need it. It provides us the source of breathing so that we can, continue to live. So these elements, fire, water, air, are very important, and they're not all physical properties. In order to change the physical properties, We have two choices. We can hammer away at it in the physical reality, and that's one way to do it. Sculpting, carving something that's already here. Or, and that works for physical things, but if we want to make other changes in our life, more profound changes, we have to go to the sources before it becomes physical. Think of it like a cake. If you're going to make a cake, you're going to put what into the cake when you make the recipe. So by the time it gets to the cake, you've got exactly what you want all cooked in there. Once it gets to the cake part, it's kind of hard to take that apart and add into it something that you want then, or to make the changes you want. You can add on top of that and do some things, but to really get in and affect the changes, you got to do it at the recipe level. So that's the whole idea: the fire, water, the air, the earth. We have to, the earth is the physical product that was created, it was manifested. So we need to go look at the recipe of fire, water, and air. We need to see how much of these things are in there and understand by affecting these things, by going into the ideas, to the emotions or the actions, we can affect the physical. And so we use our mind to think of these positive things, to affirm for ourselves things that we want to have changed in our lives. And the more we do this, the better off it becomes. Here's an article talks about the 4 ways to make better affirmations by Andrea Schulman. Affirmations can be tricky things. Affirmations are positive statements designed to focus our attention on having the things we want in life. Many students of the law of attraction use affirmations regularly to align with their goals and desire. A well-constructed affirmation can tap you into the knowledge that all is well and that you are capable of great things. A well-constructed affirmation can help you attract more and more of the good things you are hoping to manifest with the law of attraction. A not so well-constructed affirmation can leave you feeling bored and uninspired, or even worse, irritated, sad, or angry. A not so well-constructed affirmation will actually push away the things you want. Therefore, it's really important to construct your affirmation with care. So what makes a good affirmation? Well, there are a number of characteristics of a good affirmation. However, in my opinion, the most important characteristic of a good affirmation is that it feels true. Considering the following: you are a young woman who just got dumped and who has had a bad relationship with your family. You're feeling alone and uncared for. You want to attract new relationships that make you feel connected and loved, so you decide to practice some affirmations. You find a few affirmations, decide to use this one daily: I am loved. Do you imagine reciting the affirmation I am loved over and over is going to feel particularly true to you in this situation? Probably not. In fact, I am loved to yourself over and over again when you are not clearly feeling very loved is not only going to amplify the feelings of being unloved, not loved. Whenever we feel we don't have something we want, telling ourselves that we have it is a surefire way to establish greater feelings of insecurity. When we assert something we don't believe we have, it makes us feel like we are lying to ourselves. It's not a good feeling. It's like telling a sad person to smile and be positive when he or she is sobbing uncontrollably. It just doesn't work, and it only makes the sad person feel worse. Telling yourself you have something you don't really believe you have is the wrong way to use affirmations. An affirmation must feel true in order to amplify positive feelings of belief. So what do you do if you want to attract love? Are you simply supposed to avoid all kinds of affirmations about love? No, you can still use affirmations about love, just modify them to make them feel true. Below are 6 affirmation modifiers that you can use to make your affirmations ring true on a more consistent basis. Consider adding modifiers to adjust your affirmations to make them more effective. So number 1, I'm looking forward to, and you fill in the blank. When there's something you want that you don't have yet, one thing you can affirm is your excitement to get what you want. Adding the modifier I'm looking forward to the beginning of your affirmation allows you to focus on what you want in a positive way, enables you to practice the feeling of positive anticipation, which feels good. Truth is, you are looking forward to this thing you want. For this reason, the affirmation should always ring true. So an example would be, I'm a wealthy and successful. Might not feel too true when you're living paycheck to paycheck. Instead, change this to, I'm looking forward to wealth and success. Second one, it feels really good when I. Sometimes there are things we want to use that we've had before. In times like this, the modifier is especially useful. This affirmation modifier allows you to remember and therefore practice the feeling of having something you've had before in the past. Practicing the feeling of what you had is a great way to get into the better alignment with the desire to have it again. This type of modifier asserts that you have done it before, and it allows you to feel good about something you've accomplished in the past. So an example is, I attract positive people and circumstances. It might not feel too true when you're having a bad day and you find yourself surrounded by negativity. In this situation, change this affirmation to, it feels really good when I attract positive people and circumstances. 3. I'm often or frequently. Similar to the previous modifier, this affirmation modification asserts that you've done it before. This is another great modifier to use when there's something that you've had before you want to experience again. For example, I am appreciated might not feel true when you're feeling criticized or overlooked. Instead, I am often or frequently appreciated. 4. In many ways. This is a great modifier to enhance something you already have some of, but you want more of. The nice thing about this modifier is that it amplifies the knowledge of all the many ways you already know exactly what you're asking for. This modifier encourages you to think about and to dwell on the many reasons why you're already successful at getting what you want. For example, I am prosperous might feel somewhat true to you because you have a home, a car, and some money in the bank. To feel especially true and to amplify the feelings of prosperity, add the modifier saying, I am prosperous in many ways. I hope that you find good use for these affirmation modifications. Use these 4 modifiers liberally and play around with them to see which ones work well for the desires you're hoping to attract. Remember, an effective affirmation makes you feel good because it's a positive statement that feels very honest and true. Modifiers like these can help you amplify the authenticity of these affirmations. Okay, so good. This is a good list from Andrea. Very, very good list. Remember, it's all about working with energy. And when we understand we've got spirit, which is all around us, the tree of life, the Kabbalistic tree of life, and the story around the tree of life all talks about the Ein Sof, the no thing that exists. The first phrase or statement on the pattern of the trestle board is all the power that ever was or will be is here now. So it's affirming that this spirit, first and foremost, is everywhere. Okay? Spirit. Fire, next. It's the ideas that express from this spirit, this fiery energy that expresses itself out as creativity, as a creative spark into the world. Once this spark is created, the next element is water. Water's emotions or love. We take those ideas that are filled with spirit, we express them or apply emotions to them. Whatever that emotion is, we apply some sort of emotion to it. And through that emotion, we are then stimulated to do some sort of action or expression of that spirit-filled idea that now has been emotionalized, and now we express that into the world. And in expressing it into the world, we manifest it. The better we get at putting this recipe together, the better we get, the better the end result is going to be. Using these affirmations will help us to get to that point because it helps us to understand the process of manifesting. And that's one of the things we learn to do down here on Earth, to manifest. We often do not use our skills of manifestation because we have so many things at our disposal that we oftentimes don't feel we need to manifest things. But we do need to manifest things that are beyond the physical, because the physical world is just going to keep having more and more stuff. But stuff doesn't necessarily connect in with our soul. And that's what happens when we learn to manifest. We're connecting in with a part of ourselves, and as we understand that ability of manifestation we have, it changes because we understand the responsibility we now have once we're able to manifest into reality the things that we need or want to manifest. And as we continue to grow in our morality, we apply that into the things that we're manifesting. So we're manifesting with intention for morality or moral purposes and reasons. It makes all the difference in the world, my friends. All the difference in the world. All right, let's check out this video today. Channeled message.
Archangel Gabriel Daily Message Wednesday, July 27, 2016 by Shelley Young. Dear ones, what are you really willing to let go of? That old excuse that keeps you wanting change but never really moving into it. That old belief system that keeps you playing small when your soul is yearning for the freedom to express itself as all it is and more. What is the payoff? Really feel into it. Does it ever really serve you or anyone else to not own your truth? Does it ever really do you any good to deny your own innate power? What if you let that one thing that is holding you back go today? What if you could do it joyfully and beautifully and safely? What if giving yourself permission to shine is all that is left for you to do? Archangel Gabriel.
All right, good point. Good point. You know, it really speaks to the idea that we have much more control about what goes on with us than we realize. And part of the process is we have to get clear with ourselves so that what we're intending to bring into the world and manifest into the world is something positive that's going to benefit us. We need to take the time out to understand a bit more about ourselves. We also need to take the time to stand in somebody else's shoes for a while, to understand things from the other perspectives. Part of that is already built in us because we do live from one lifetime to the next. We've lived as different races. We've lived as different genders. Sometimes we've been male, sometimes we've been female, sometimes we've been black or white or brown or yellow or red. We've changed in order so we can have a full, well-rounded experience of what's going on. And that's an invaluable experience for all of us to have. Very invaluable. So we need to really take the time out, get to know ourselves, affirm into reality the things that are going to help us and not the things that are going to hurt us. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and exhale. Take another deep breath, and exhale again. And another breath, and exhale. And let's just imagine ourselves walking through life, appreciating all that we see, understanding that in some way it is a reflection of ourselves and the world around us. And so as we understand this, we practice seeing what we want to see within ourselves and then seeing this reflection in the world. And as we continue to practice, we realize that we have the ability to make changes within ourselves that then reflect into this world. And those changes that reflect into the world themselves bring forth other changes, and so on and so forth. And as we see these changes, we understand the things that we can let go of that are not serving us. And we take on new habits and things that will help us. So let the subconscious mind continue on the journey, looking at the world, observing it, seeing the different ways in which we can manifest positivity into this reality. And let's bring the mind back to the present moment, all on the count of 3. 3 coming back to the present moment, filled with confidence. 2 coming back to the present moment, filled with faith. And 1 coming back to the present moment, happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. Take another deep breath. Exhale, and open your eyes. That's it, my friends. That's the show for today. for the week. Enjoy the weekend. Keep thinking of all the positive things that we have to offer this world. Let's not get caught up in all the lies and divisions, because that's all they are. Let's just keep doing good. Let's just keep thinking positive, and let's make this world a place that gets back to God. That's the important things, my friend. Have an awesome weekend. I love you. Keep loving each other, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace. I'm out of here.